Good evening, listeners. Welcome to our fourth news review in 2021, Gambia Daily. I'm your host, Rohi Konetigay, live from Manchester, the United Kingdom. Happy New Year to you all from the Mamos team. Please stay tuned.
Welcome to Gambia Today News Review. It is Tuesday, 5th of January 2020. I am Nene with a review of the Gambia's national top headlines coming to you live from Oslo, Norway. We begin with a tribute written by Mamos Media. Undoubting kindness, tribute to my elder brother. To our late mother, he was Baba, her first son named after her own father, Brahma Mata Jammeh. To the rest of the family, he was just Brahma. In the streets of Banjul Central, they called him Ndesose. When we moved to Lamin, they called him Lion, the latter name he derived from Bob Marley's hit song Iron Lion Zion. But perhaps to himself he was only elder brother of Modu Sabali, a station he cherished and a duty he lived all through his life. My late brother was some 4 years older than me, but he spent our childhood besides each other. He taught me how to swim from the seasides of Banjul to the rivers of Lamin called Beroto and Sitaba. I was so attached to him as a child that he would sometimes threaten to beat me up if I insisted on following him when he was going to town on missions too far away from our locality. We move on to the standard headline, only National Assembly can revive the draft constitution. The National Assembly member for Woolly East and founding member of the DOI, Sidi Ajata, has said it's emphatically clear that only the Parliament has the powers to revive the rejected draft constitution. Jata's comments came 3 weeks after his colleague in DOI, Halifa Saleh's motion to resurrect the draft constitution bill was rejected by the Speaker of the National Assembly. A former Gambian ambassador and foreign minister, Mamadou Lamin Sidar Diop, has also since urged President Adama Barrow to support Halifa Saleh's motion seeking to reintroduce the draft constitution bill, which was rejected by the National Assembly in September. The Point has headline for us today, Kachikali crocodiles starve of food as COVID-19 bites hard on tourism. $100 million bailout package dispersed among various actors within the tourism industry. Kachikali Crocodile Pool was not a beneficiary. Up to 100 crocodiles of the Kachikali Sacred Pool in Bakau are undergoing hard nutrition times as impact of COVID-19 pandemic bites down tourism sector, depriving the pool of needed tourist incomes. When Minister of Tourism Hamad N.K. Bar visited the acted site before the COVID-19 pandemic, he held a meeting with the site manager, Mr. Dudu Bojang. Their difficulties in maintaining the site as a tourist attraction were all laid bare. Another Point headline, Barrow claims party leaders deal with criminal business people. The President, Adama Barrow, in a meeting in Burfoot on Sunday, alleged that party leaders are ready to sell off the country. According to Fatu Network, the president explained some party leaders dealing with, quote, criminal business people making, quote, big promises to them, claiming he has documents in his possession to prove his allegations. Quote, those fighting are doing it for their own interests. The time for politics will come and we'll say things that are happening. People who are ready to sell off Gambia. We know a lot of business people who are big criminals and they're dealing with them, making big promises to them, unquote. The Point has also headlined today, IEC postpones January voter registrations. The Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, has announced that due to logistical challenges beyond its control, it is postponing the general registration of voter exercise, which was scheduled to commence on the 14th of January 2021 until further notice. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in.
Thank you, Nene, for today's news review. Listeners, you live on Mamos Radio. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Good evening. I'm your host, Rohi Konetigay. On today's news review, Mamos Radio takes a look at the international news making a splash in national newspapers in the United Kingdom and the United States. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Good evening, listeners. I am your presenter, Sainab Jaiba. As Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced that everyone in the country must stay at home except for permitted reasons during a new coronavirus lockdown expected to last until mid-February. The Daily Star imagines Boris Johnson dressed as Little Britain's Vicky Pollard. The Daily Mirror says there are two sides to the latest lockdown in England, the virus and the vaccine. Boris Johnson said coronavirus vaccines give hope as he announced a new lockdown in England, the Daily Express reports. The Times says Boris Johnson has reimposed national restrictions in England in a desperate attempt to prevent the NHS from being overwhelmed. The Sun says 13 million people are predicted to get a coronavirus vaccine by the middle of February. The Eye says a new national lockdown in England comes as Britain's health emergency worsens. The Guardian says Boris Johnson has ordered another national lockdown in England just a day after urging millions of pupils to return to classrooms. With vaccines being administered, Boris Johnson has said we are in the last phase of the struggle against coronavirus, the Daily Telegraph reports. Metro says schools in England will be closed until mid-February as the country enters another national lockdown. The Prime Minister made a sharp switch in position when he ordered another national lockdown in England, the Financial Times reports. Thank you, listeners. That was the UK national newspaper's headlines. Please stay tuned after the break. We will take a close look at the front pages of the Eye and the Daily Mail. Thank you. Welcome back, listeners. Let's take a close look at the front pages of the Eye newspaper and the Daily Mail. Both papers feature a grim-looking Boris Johnson pictured as he addressed the nation yesterday evening. The Eye newspaper headlined, "Lockdown 3, the worst sequel yet." The paper reports that shielding has been reintroduced as Mr. Johnson bows to scientific advisors, and the Prime Minister believes that by mid-February, if things go well, all care home residents, carers, over 70s, frontline medics, social care workers, and clinically vulnerable people should be vaccinated. The paper's Oliver Duff claims that COVID-19 thrives on indecision. He thinks teachers, students, and parents are justified in feeling angry about what he says Mr. Johnson's amateurish decision to urge pupils to return to schools across the country only to close them hours later. Read more on page 6. The Daily Mail leads with, "It's back to square one," after news of the latest lockdown. It describes the new measures as the most draconian since the spring lockdown. Also under the new rules, end-of-year exams will not take place as normal, and outside sports venues must close. Amateur team sports are also not allowed. Turn to page 2 for more details on that report. Thank you, listeners. That was the UK's national newspaper's front pages review with me, Sainab Jaiba. Stay tuned to Mamos Radio for the rest of
Will be
kontona to nal jamandangla nal badima la numero ndol kay ki amman sam felen dunta banol bela moy kan mamol radi bumbala kondal taka ki baram futandale wato wati e mbafla mo be alma mabela jarbi nya lungla kondunta sonkuto kono men keda 2021 tindunda kono kaira kono almanga kumfa kaira kono kenin ko ken se kafolo ni molu tentu wol kono trade kam la kafu bamba fole ya labar ka bake ko nyu watulu e signero ke ene ministre mem wala ring jata kende ya bunjala wala bala bo nyoto kunyala anin dindungolu la farmansa Gambia kan mengara yu sporti e betentu la wala ila ke kende ya be duku kendo nyi menna anin nene on Mamos Media Foundation mem fana me Gambia ko nyu watulu be duku kendo nyi menna pour ka karamolu nyi sementu ya anin menketa Mamadi CCT ala kafu ba me ala lonto don pour ka hadmodulu tentu ke dema ani nene on Mamos Media Foundation ni e blodi nyola e be kiralu be karamulu mako kan ba fule wala ala barka bake semen ke don ngadun kibaro nyin famo kono konyi watulu si menke nga kibaro kun fonfuton dolla konyi watulu menketa Gambia ni watulu iko ye molu saindi me ya lon ko boda jaman banko kan Gambia nolu e moja ma saindi Gambia banko kan nyin tembo lambo kibaro li dilala anu men fankera mam der toure ko atla mu sign deputy secretary general di memuti aral city membe je o e fonyole anu fanan ji form men kala dunia la ni journalist kafu bati wol fanan yela wo chef tandi ko Gambia waranko dunia la masakunda la police korosiro ke fonin ke la jada kende ya sabatindo wara assembentu ya dunia kono nyame anu Gambia na armed forces fanan wol fanan ye kibaro soto ko nyin watolu iko malulu wala mamanta CRL tundo nyina ye kumandi pour yene demaje anu fanan ata president Baro ya kumandi pour iko asi Alifa Sala abe fero mento pour ka ni luwa kuto men dedata no ka samanan pour asa sembentu ya asikeno luwati Gambia nyame wadum lu semenke don ngadum kibaro nyi fango kono Mamder Toure atelemu saying a new deputy secretary general ti menketa TRL sila in kafubati birin tumo mena membe ja menketa musu bakuro saho membe nunge veteran me alonko ameta karandula bundato anu karandula administrative mafongola ka koroshiroke anu ka timaru futandi ni mafongola akumata aboke kamnumbake birin wo fonyo anu ngatenyin madam Dey Toure ya teleta saying purka ke TRL sila deputy secretary general iko nyimi saho mole me alonko anyin dinkra nyi mutanu atata fo wati janding me alonko atata sanji fula sanji nin tala komanto me alonko abedo wala nyin iko anyin do ko nyin continent le fo nyin tubabu karo men fata nyin dise men fata til tang saba anin killing wato la ngaye fonyo iko barjana ka futa woto yanin ibenyin tembo na nyemen tating men keta deputy executive secretary memu Mr. Toureti iko atanata da petata du wala commissioner director ya la mentata marana ni hadama dum la jokinyolo la fanna nyinna bering 2018 sankona September karo ako anu akata mote me ya lonko ay doku bake ni nata nyin commissioner nyi biriba londila anu ibabrabe commissioner ya la fanan la headquarters nyin to menketa nyin duna hotel ote yenyi be jamen to time iko mole me yalon ko ala mammango anala kekande ya keta kuti men fanan sababu ta bidibe TRC lo la Gambia banko nyin kan anu atakera moto me yalon ko ni mulla jokinyolo temo moto me yalon ko aye woto no bakele akoy iko nyi onkul mam iko mo yalon ko aya lonta bake anu mole me yalon ko a farmansata a timino diata anu mole me yalon fanan ko pro kachanyo e dia nyi TRC kono anu fana ya farmansandele ni na ta TRC la dokula kono iko mobe akata mobile kacha nyoyata keta mobile la diam nyoyati andu molem fanan me alonko e ka kuma faya ka kuma tole e ko na rafan foka faya ko musa menketa musa maneti fanana ko fa kuma alonko akita mobile la teriti kanto mela alonko amadiata anu do ko mi ngaba kono aya lombakale na ya lonne pour ka mulu joke nyame ko ala nanu TRLC me alonko ay do ko ke fanna dolu to 2018 sango nyin kono men keta Mr. Toureti e kay la jamalu maralanu menina ta ko hadama dum la joknyolo la e ko kuto me alonko ayo do ko nyin a farm kalamata bakale e ko ay sanji mon ani worowra ay do ko ke woto gamtel me alonko a telephone tata ila director tinina da telecommunication ni molu joknyolo tema anin ke blodi media lula o famfana atlemu fana nyaton ko nyinte nungu kate ture nyi iko mole me yalon ko ay londo soto ay master soto ni na da science la fanna la aning physics la mafongola iko nyinge da kuto me yalon ko aya karang university menkeda wakoto la university nyunta en karang nyin ko wolto kibar bunna men sefe ole mu Mamos la mediate e ko ñu wato la Gambia refugee la kafuba membe jamen la banko nyin kangol fanela wosi dañi yitandi ko nyin tembola ila ye mawluje me ya lonko ibe jamen banko kan ye muta ke bonde gaman ke sayni Gambia kono e ko nyin bir musu foke ne ya lonko nyin keta ñu wato le anu nga keta watle me ya lonko me ya lonko ko nyin coronavirus nyin abe kolari mbakale e koñi karo kono men keta no zombañin ibata kono atiltan ani sey e koye molu bondi ani kibaro soto ko molu bota jamani banko kan me ya lonko e parete pour que sendu ngotembo nyinno ko bari menu hame pour que sandi futata Gambia banko kande November kono atel tang anin kononto ako andun i man molu moy men safo ko nyunu kana nanne ko bari bi ñu lafuto fanan moli e bendu men keta police luti anin aya mola me alon ko wol fanan international kafu baleti men be marade hadama la fintoni la dungo la bankol kan wol fani la dokula le kije anin jaman fanan ila molu men be Gambia banko kan wol fani la molu kije anin katela EU ambassador membe Gambia wol beta raka molto me yalon ko yenyun bendu bri futata airport e ko bari na tamene faran soto ko man kibar soto ko nyi flight o nyi men kana ka fu ko anim molel kana ka bonan jamani e ko man information o nyi soto ani man fem fanan bondi ko men television bumbalu wala television screen balu men be airport o nyinto me yalo ke la information o men kana ke safadame e ko man fem findindo do fanan e ko bayi to nada kibaru koy soto modo koy bulu ko nyin menbe do ko wala airport nyinto e ko to man kibaru soto ka foko kulintila la ka bonan Germany men ka mulu samanan kana Gambia e ko dan yayi tan dilala ko nyi men be nyin ko nyin kono ya ka kulloleti man la fi pumule ba kala ma ko ka molle sendi nan ke bonni nan Germany ke sendi nan Gambia banko kan kibaru bunda men finance volume Mamos la media te jifom men kera dunia la journalist ka fubati la boss ila nyaton ko o fananata ka dandalaro anun ka wosi futandi ako Afrika la mansa kundalu nyanta ka bambandere ke na jata kende abundala sakonina ata ko nyin kurambanyi mekeken ila president nyi miya lon ko atlemu nyu de la ka fubati ajibola abayomi ayin konkula tumomena nyi sankuro kanadu ngokono ako be nyi wosi futandi la Afrika la mansa kundalu bema police bambandere ke na jata kende bunda la me alon ko batandro ke kamba ke ni nata kuran la mafa nyinna ni kera kibaroti ay mende ni sankuto we kanadu ko no menketa Mr. Abayomi ako ni mukute me alon ko na continent me alon ko Africa tundo ni ajibeng atlemu sinya nani jawto dunia kono nin kememu ni nata je ko fonnin kelleli siata me alon ko e ka findi ke la bankol bulaka tamo la banku doluto o tata 2017 kono men dada fo million muang ani lulu me alon ko be finditale pour kata nyinendru la wande bankolu do e ko nyimu kute me ya lon ko nyanda ka son kabe ke kanne anu ko me nyanda ka dafa nyanda ka korsido ke folo na jada kende ala bundala anen ka korsido ke fonnin ke la sululu puko ke kute me ya lon ko nyanda ka je korsi bake anu nga kontineta ko ni na rajiben ni ko momensio be sanji tan kono do kata sanji muang inu feneti me ya lon ko isafu ko jama isafu ka be Africa la tundo nyinato ko United Nations dunia la kafuba yen bondi 2019 sango nyin kono iko africana ila funding kelu nyi keta kutume yalon ko isiata bakale ni asumang ning tundu dolula iko ni naraje atata fo sidla tang anin talante me yalon ko wali siyo bebe funding ke yalo kono kibar bunda me mfana sefe ole mu Mamos la media te eko GFA yitol fanan ila moli ko e kumandile pour ka e woshi men soto ko malulu be batandiro ke kan janjambure la tundo nyindo moni ko ka kuntu kata batenten dola iko nyumene ya lonko ye woshi nyi futande iko aketa lamen koto e kibaro futande la military campo membeje police na ye makoeno ko menketa siara la tundo de sibiti tamila menketa in general karo telefula iko ye kumandi pour kane dema ko malulu be batande kan ila janjambure tumbo ine menketa lamen koto janjambure la kuntu la nyentema iko kibaro nyin men futa tema iko yaaje ko malol nyinu findita o baade naw nyinnale andun ay mojama balu batande no jemene ya lonko ibela do kola anu lafta pour ka tambe ka kundu katawo batenten dola iko bare beri futata ye kumandiro ke ye ami la nyaton ko nyin ya soto an ye kibaro nyin faye o tundo nyinda anin do kulal men femba manaring dafengul la kunya la Gambia en wol fonan kacata kaji bebe fera nyaadi le dandila pour ka mako ro ko nyin membe wosi nyin kan e ko bari la ame nyaton ko ye mokuma ne me ya lon ko wolbe e maradu tundo nyina menkede la infantry battalion de la OC yokumandi o fanana la molbula men be tundo nyina menkedal lieutenant colonel Amadou Bojang o fane kibaru ki ala mule men bo tundo nyina polisi mako ro keje woni si woni ngana kibaru ni futande ako komana men bo lamen koto o law tundo nyina men kera captain Malik Bayo fana nata la mulu blandi pour kaje anun inin men kanyin dafingolu dema inu wolu nata blodi nyola kaje ibe do ko kala nyaadi le pour ka nyin malol men fende je pour ke e bondi je nyama kana mulu tora wara kanela fifingolu tora ana kana mulu mantoro ma fon nyinna mbadungulu ngina mu kibaru men futana temmenna an Mamos la media wala fana kibaru nyi fintinde ngamen fo na beta da ko mon solo non linga fo mafo kun saunta al salon ya mbadi ngulu nata kibado fana fota gan hakilon saunta menna andu nata fo ya adama baro fana dandala ko ba flako Halifa Sallah ko ay hamosoto ni watulu pour ka fintindir ke koto ko kibare ke luwa kuto ni mende data men keta Mamadou Lamine Sidi Ba Job me ya lon ko akeda ambassador le num before anu ngana keta num fanan Gambia la ministre me maralim bantul bankulu jokino yala a fane wosi da futandi ko Adama Barrow nyanta ka Halifa Sallah pour ka sembentuya pour asimurundir keno ye constitution ni luwa kuto mende data pour ka murundi nan me ya lon ko ya bayla num député Bumbañin to pour ka murundi nan ko deke pour ka ko nyin kacha ni sere kunda me alon ko atlemu la député di akachata ako abe lafla pour ka murundi kenan ko ngaluwa kuto men de dal lafta pour Gambia ko ta me alon ko ya bayla nu eni ko e ko lafta ka murundi nan ani yen wosi ni frande ko pour man sakunda saje ko isi fero lande nyamen me alon ko ni si murundi no nyamen pour ye korosiri kala kotage e ko tumo mena the president Adama Barrow ay mo samana me alon ko akata Nigeria la president nu Dr. Goodluck Jonathan ay samana pour ka korosiri ke luwa men de data pour que ferol landi ba samala non nyaanen pour ka dunde député Bumbañin kono bado nyim kibaro to mi alon ko nyasa untala en kanawol futandala wol futandala maten na betata ko ka fa nyaawdo man solen niaje en sawndo kulara salona harmadi na so damalo mbafla la barkal be lamoy kan mamol hadari Bumbala fanyatonto.
Thank you, listeners. That was the end of tonight's news review from the Mamos team. To my co-host, Nene Suleiman Dabo, Sapa Asanbajan, and CEO Lamin Marong. I'm your host, Rohi Konetigay. To technician Lennox Asan and Mr. Bori Dabo, our country director and marketing manager in the Gambia. To our Mamos news editor, Lamin Sanyang, and to Mamos news reporters Mohamed El Bojang and Usman A. Marong on today's news review. On that note, we say good night. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. GMT. Till then, good night.
Abedas for I love Mamos.